This is Legacy Battle. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, whatever you're watching it on. I'm Michael Adams, creator of Legacy Battle. My co-host tonight from the Gridiron Battle Zone, Brian King. We're joined by Leonard Marshall. He's a two-time Pro Bowler, two-time second team All-Pro, two-time Super Bowl winner, and member of the New York Giants Ring of Honor. Leonard, thank you so much for coming on.
Good afternoon, fellas. How y'all doing?
Awesome, awesome.
All
Great
right.
wrap to the football season, wasn't it?
Yes, great rap. Great rap. Glad to see
Excellent.
the season come to an end.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to have an interview tonight, and we're going to start with Brian.
All right.
All right. So, Leonard, I understand that your father initially was not really supportive of you playing football, but eventually you won him over. That being said, who was it that influenced you to play football in the very beginning?
Um, Football kind of stumbled in my lap, Brian, to be honest with you. I mean, I was a basketball player as a kid. One of the things I loved growing up where I grew up in rural Louisiana was the fact that we could actually go out and really be kids and do things that kids love to do. We didn't have the distraction of computers and technology and social media and all the other crap that kids get into these days. We just had, the outdoors and being that I lived in sportsman paradise, Louisiana, if it flies, farts, swims, or mates, we hunted. So
Yeah.
as a kid, I was a hunter and did everything else that other boys did. And I took a real good liking to basketball and was pretty good at it. I'd say from between my ages of like 8 and 12 years old. I think as I grew up and grew into a teenager, the game of basketball became something more secondary, and the game of football became something more intriguing because I could actually go out and take out my frustrations on other kids and really knock the living crap out of them and have a good time doing it. So I kind of took a real good liking to football in my teen years.
So something I have to ask, and it's not really football related, but I've
Sure.
kind of always wanted to know this, is during your career, you were a frequent guest on the Howard Stern show. How did that
Yes.
come about?
Howard and I got to be friends, guys. After the first Super Bowl, I ended up hiring a guy as a literary agent to help me market a book project that I was doing with a writer from the Giants, a beat writer by the name of Dave Klein. And we got into doing this book, and I'd never done something like this. It's a first time project. I had no idea what I was doing and getting into, but I just thought it would be cool to put something out there that I could look back on 20, 30, 40 years down the road and maybe get a laugh or two about it. Well, exactly what I envisioned it to be is exactly what it became, because probably one of the first projects I did that didn't make sense. But yes, I was able to make sense of it. And part of that was hooking up with Michael Levine and the Howard Stern show. Michael worked for an organization at the time that was a big marketing service for athletes and entertainers. And it became a group called CAA. And CAA became like this big conglomerate now that represents a lot of Hollywood likes and athletes and things of that nature. So that's how I kind of met Howard.
Well, going back to the college days, it's been said that Coach Bear Bryant of Alabama attempted to recruit you to the Crimson Tide, but ultimately you chose the LSU Tigers. What was the reasoning for that decision?
I think I chose LSU because it was my home state university. The right people got to my family. And it was a bunch of guys that actually graduated from LSU that were doctors, lawyers, and different professionals in the area. They did some things for my family that, most others wouldn't.
Right.
Bear Bryant got out recruited by my first love was University of Oklahoma. I really wanted to play for Barry Switzer. And and so when Lucius Selman decided to recruit me, and happened to be the brother of Leroy Selman, who I admired as a player in the NFL, I really was taken aback. I actually signed a Big 8 letter of intent to go to Oklahoma,
Oh,
but yet
wow.
at the end of this deal, at the end of the journey, um, I switched up and I just, I made a decision to stay home and play for the Tigers and play for Charlie McClendon. I, I don't regret any bit of it. If anything, I wish that we'd have had more success at LSU. But the departing team I had in 1982 ended up beating Alabama and was the last team to beat Bear Bryant before he died. Um, so I guess it was a fitting end of the relationship between me and Coach Bryant, but it was the beginning of the next level of my life as a professional athlete.
Right.
So you're drafted by the New York Giants, 37th overall. Eventually, you're
Yes.
playing with guys like Lawrence Taylor, Carl Banks, Pepper Johnson, just to name a couple of them. How did those guys around you affect how you played, and where do you rank your guys' defense, like on the list of all-time great defenses?
Oh, it was great to play with all those guys. I think of all of them, probably one of the most underrated athletes of the group was Carl Banks. I thought Carl was a guy who played well within a system of things and just was a tremendous player for us. He did some things in space that Lawrence couldn't do, and he did some things on the line of scrimmage that most linebackers weren't able to really do and be able to compete while doing it. So I had a lot of love for Carl Banks as a player and became one of my best friends. His rookie year, I took him under my wing and really got close to him. And over the years, we maintained a hell of a friendship. The rest of those guys were just, they were who they were, and they are who they are. I mean, Harry Carson was an exceptional guy to play with. George Martin was unbelievable as a leader and a brother, a friend, a guy who really took me under his wing and kind of showed me what to do, as he departed. And I kind of really took up where he left off and gave that back to our group. And I just felt like the 86 Giants football team, I compare that defense to probably the only group I could think of that played a 3-4 defense as good, if not better than we did, I felt was the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I don't mean the Steelers with Joe Green in that group, but I mean the Steelers, the 3-4 defense Steelers. Some of the teams that Bill Cowher coached,
Right.
I thought did it just as well as we could in terms of playing a 3-4. Now, everybody wants to argue that the Bears were the best defense in football. The Bears were the best defense in football, I felt, in 85 or the 86 Super Bowl season, because nobody had any familiarity with the 46 defense or the flex defense. The last team to run that defense was the New York Jets in 1972, which Buddy Ryan was a part of that defense and a coach on that staff. So it was years that folks had never seen that defense. We played a college 3-4. You knew where we were going to be at when you walked out the huddle. You're going to see Lawrence Taylor and Leonard Marshall to the right or your left. You're going to see Carl Banks and George Martin over to your right, and you're going to see Jim Burt in the middle. And we're going to line up our 7 guys, and we're going to beat the living shit out of you for 4 quarters. And if you're able to stay on the field with us and play, then play. But if you're not, don't blame us for it because we're good. We just our front 7 was just probably some of the best athletes I ever played football with in my life. And Bill Parcells kind of knew that. He knew what he built. He and Bill Belichick, and today that's probably the closest group of guys I've ever been with, ever in my lifetime. I mean, even closer than the guys I played with at LSU. I mean, you're going to see a new book come out called Once a Giant by Gary Myers. That book will be released in the fall of this year. I can honestly tell you, it's one of the best written books I think I've ever read, and one of the best projects I've ever been part of, because it goes in and it talks about the fraternity that you go through when you win a Super Bowl, and the trials and tribulations that players end up going through in the course of their lives that people don't get a chance to see, but yet they become intrigued once they find out that most of these guys, even though they're heroes, they're still human. And and the human side of it really, becomes a big part of the their lives and their journey. So
the 1990 NFC Championship game. That's a game I believe is one of the greatest of all time.
Oh, no doubt.
You laid a hit on Joe Montana, which basically ended his time in San Francisco. What do you remember about that hit? And did you realize how devastating that hit really was?
Oh, I knew it was going to be an impact play. I knew it would be an impact play. I knew that one of us had to make that play in order for us to win that game. It was never my intention to really put Joe in the hospital or do anything of that sort. We knew as a football team that one of that group had to have an exceptional day, and it just so happened to be me that day. And that was the one thing about that group is when your number was called, you knew what you had to do, and you did what you had to do in the framework of the game to lift your team spirit. And I guess a bad thing for Joe, but a good thing for us. One, I think the mitigating factors involved that maybe the fans didn't know, and maybe some of them have found out today, was that, Jim Burt was one of us. And Jim Burt had joined the 49ers that season. And we lost to them in the Monday night game 7-3. Well, after that game, Ronnie Lott and Phil Simms got into an argument after that game. And that proceeded to carry on for a number of weeks. So when we lost to them on Monday night, we were 10-0. We became 10-1. We carried that chip on our shoulder into the playoffs. And we told those guys in San Francisco, if you guys see us again, I hope you see us on your turf. And the next time you see us, we will get even about the Ronnie Lott, Jim Burt thing, because that thing became something that should never have happened. And it was all a bunch of, hearsay stuff. But yet Simms took it personal. And Simms was one of our guys, and we had to protect our guy. Now, in the course of the game against the 49ers in the championship, Jim Burt took a shot at Jeff Hostetler and almost broke his leg. So guys talked about that at halftime. When we came out in the third quarter, we came out with a vengeance that it was an all-out assault on their quarterback. And that we got a chance to do whatever we could to get Mr. Montana out the game, that we would do it in the framework of the game, not a dirty football play, nothing illegal, but yet deliver a blow that, it'll be a shot heard around the world. And that's exactly what happened.
So you go on to the Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills. You have the only sack in that game.
Yes.
And what can you tell us about the sack and the defensive game plan to stop that explosive K-gun offense?
Well, guys, I'll be honest with you. When they told us the Bills had scored 91 points in 2 weeks, I thought Bill Belichick was crazy when he walked in the locker room and said to me, we're going to play a 2-5-4 defense against the number one offense in football. And guess what? Thurman Thomas is going to have 180 yards, but we're going to win the game. I looked at him like he was stupid. I said, are you crazy? He said, I'm telling you right now, that's what we're going to do. I said, why are you going to play me, Bill? I'm going to play you at left end. I'm going to play Lawrence at right end. We're going to play Eric Howard in the middle. I'm going to play Carl, Pepper, Gary, and Dave Durison as linebackers. You're going to play Dave as a linebacker? Yep, I'm going to play Dave as a linebacker. And you watch. We're going to beat these guys. Well, guess what? Exactly the way he drew it up is exactly the way we played it. And everything he asked us to do, we did. We hit receivers when they didn't even have the ball. We wanted them to get up off the ground and wipe grass stains off their ass the whole game. And that's exactly what we did. But the sack in the third quarter, I felt, was a pivotal play because it knocked them out of field goal range. And then they turned around and they shank a punt. We go down and we score to go up on them. And the rest is history from there.
Leonard, you've been outspoken about the use of cannabis as a better solution to athletic pain than opioids. For someone who may be unfamiliar with this concept, can you explain the benefits of this alternative?
Sure. I mean, the use of medicinal cannabis and cannabis-related products, aka CBD, uh,
Mhm.
have really helped me in my campaign as I deal with traumatic brain injury. And like me, my wife will attest to the same thing that if it weren't for some of those products early on, as I began to take this journey, um, I would probably have more problems today. Um, One of the things that people don't understand that athletes go through from TBI is you develop early stage Parkinson's, which gives you restless tremors. You can have restless tremors, which means basically that you're just sitting in a resting state. And next thing you know, your hands are moving, your fingers are moving, your ears are twitching, things of that nature. So, um, thanks to CBD and other products like that, I don't have to worry about that as much. Um, Not to say that I'm 100% ridden of it, but uh, I manage it pretty well. And
Mhm.
like that, some other players have found that to be a solution for them. And between that, hyperbaric chamber treatment, um, which is really getting pure oxygen into the brain. Um, there's a product called Lion Mane, which is a brain support. It's a mushroom product, a supplement actually. And if you use these type of things, man, it can help you. Um, um, and I try to tell guys that. I'll share that with guys. So some guys listen, some guys want it. Some guys are like, I don't want to try anything. I just want to live out the rest of my life. If it be a vegetative state, then so be it. I'm not that guy. I'm too active to be that kind of guy. So
Right, right.
So you mentioned a brain injury in 2013. You're diagnosed with CTE. You were part of the lawsuit against the NFL. What further precautions can the game take to eliminate headshots and protect these players better?
I wish I had that answer. I mean, I think that there's 32 teams out there that would pay me a whole bunch of money if I come up with a solution for that because I think it's going to change the game of football. Unfortunately, you can't take the headgear out the game of football. The helmet will always be used. It'll be used to establish leverage. It'll be used to intimidate people. It'll be used to tackle people. It'll be used to make football plays, historical plays. Um, there's some moments in football that, if you think about it, the helmet's not involved. Geez, what would have happened? So there's no way to take the headgear out the game. The only thing you can do is limit the amount of blows to the head, limit the amount of concussions that can be obtained in the course of a game. I see them doing something to change the game of kickoff and kickoff return, punt and punt return. I see them change the game when it comes to onside kicking to try to win a game or to salvage a game. I see them doing some other things alternatively to slow down the process of TBI. I mean, that thing you saw with Damar Hamlin this past football season,
Yeah.
that's uncommon. Okay. That's very uncommon. It's a rarity. And I'm so sorry something like that had to happen to Damar for them to recognize that this is a serious game. It's a serious event. It's a game played by grown men for money. Kids play a kid's game for king's ransom for money. And that's the bottom line here. So, those who want to mistake that, then go right ahead. But it's a game played for money. What we did on the field, what I did on the field, made me a hero. What these guys do now is going to make them a hero someday. But what we do need to understand is we're all still human. And we're not machines. And because we're human, we can be pinched. And since we can be pinched, we can feel pain. So
Right, right.
that's the reality. That's the reality of the game, fellas.
Well, Leonard, last year you were inducted into the New York Giants Ring of Honor. The great
Yes.
Harry Carson put on your jacket for you. In past interviews, you explained a little bit of frustration about the amount of time it took for you to be honored by the franchise. So is all forgiven now, or do you still feel some kind of way about that?
Well, I just felt like it was something that was justifiable, and it was long overdue, and I'm happy to put it behind me.
Right, right. What was that night like for you?
It was a great night. I mean, I got my family had a chance to get engaged in that process. My wife had a chance to coordinate everything for our family to come from Louisiana, Texas, Florida, Georgia, and other places to be part of the ceremony and everything else. It was a great night. I even had my dog on the field with me, which was which was pretty cool. So it was a good deal, real good deal for the whole family.
Well, we want to thank you, Leonard Marshall, so much for coming on. We really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. You're welcome, fellas.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll remind everybody, hit like and subscribe. And we'll see y'all next time. Thank you for watching. Have a great night.